Hey guys, my name is Jeffrey Way, and welcome back to PHP Fundamentals. So luckily, today's lesson will be somewhat easy. We're going to discuss Heredocs. So that sounds confusing, but I promise it's actually very simple and very helpful actually. If I switch over to Sublime Text, I've created a new directory in our sandbox called Heredocs, and I created an index file. Okay, so consider this idea where you need to echo a clump of HTML. Maybe it's for an HTML email message, and you need to prepare that, store it within a variable, and then send it off. And I will show you how to send emails at some point in this course. But for now, we're just going to take a look at how we can use Heredocs to simplify that process. So think about this. Consider a post, and we'll just make that into an associative array for now. And this post will have information like the author. We'll use myself in this case. We'll have the body. Here's the body. And then maybe one more thing for publish date. And I'll set it to June 10th, 2012, depending upon what part of the world you live in. And next I'm going to line these up just to make it a little bit cleaner. All right, so now we have this array that contains information about our post. And you know what? We certainly need a title while I'm thinking about it. My awesome post. All right, so now we have this post, and we want to attach that to a bit of HTML that will be emailed. Or it could do anything, but for now we're going to assume it's for an email. So think about it, you would have to build up this HTML string and store it within a variable. So we would have this variable, we'll call it email, and we would fill up the H1, maybe with the title, so I would do post title, but this syntax actually won't work. I'll give you an example. If I echo out email just with that, and I view it in the browser, what we're going to get is this parse error. So what you would have to do when you're working with variables, and you're trying to use interpolation, is you would surround that with curly braces like that. Now if I run it, now it's going to work. So now we have that within the H1 tag, and then maybe after that you would have something like by, and then the post author, something like that, and then you might have a div, and then one more time, post body, and that'll be okay for our example. All right, so if I do run that, it is going to work, and we are going to get that HTML, but clearly you can see this is a terrible way to go about it. So people do a handful of things to fix this. First, they may do something incrementally. So they will store the H1. Then they will concatenate, which is using period equals, which means we're going to take whatever the email variable is currently storing, and we're going to add to that. So we're essentially saying add to the very end of this string, whatever I set. And in this case, we can add the H1 at the top, and remove this. Now we're going to tack on the paragraph, and you see where I'm going here. And you'll see this a lot, especially in WordPress themes. It's strangely common. And then we finally do the div. And that way, at least there's some level of organization, and you're going to get the exact same effect. But nonetheless, this is still very bad. So let's figure out a way to make this better. Well, we did learn about sprintf or sprintf, so we could consider doing that. Email equals sprintf. And then we're going to have our string, which is an H1. We'll have the title, then we'll have the author, and then we'll have the body. And then this would give us a way to bind these. So I could say post title, post author, and post body. Okay, so now we've created this new option. Let's save that and echo out email. And now if I run it, we're still getting the same thing, H1, the paragraph, and the div. And perhaps you think that that's a cleaner route. For me, I still don't think that's clean enough. I want to be able to see this as I would with any HTML page. What if I want to add something onto it? Well, I'm going to have to decipher this string and figure out where to add my HTML. This is not the way I like either. Instead, we're going to take advantage of Heredocs. So especially when preparing things like HTML or SQL statements, Heredocs can be an enormous help. I'll give you an example. This time, once again, we'll create email, but now we're going to use the Heredocs syntax, which is angled bracket times 3, and then we're going to set some kind of identifier. It's very common to see things like EOD or EOT, but honestly, you can call this whatever you want. It's just an identifier. So in the same way that an opening HTML tag has its companion closing HTML tag to specify where it begins and ends, the same thing is true here. So I'm going to close it at the bottom, like so. Now, within here, I don't have to worry about escaping or double quotes. I just add my HTML. So H1, and then we will add the post title. Next, we'll have the paragraph by, and that probably shouldn't go in a paragraph, but it's fine for now. Post author. And then finally, I'm going to have the div that contains the body. All right, so now if we run this in the browser, you're going to get this error. And this is something that confused me a lot when I was first learning about these, because I would look at the documentation, yeah, this is exactly what they're doing, so what's the problem? Well, honestly, I must admit it's very confusing. Watch what happens if I add just another return. That's all I'm doing differently, and I run it. Now I'm not getting an error. So the basic idea is your PHP file cannot end with a Heredoc. And that's honestly fine, because I can't imagine a situation when the file would end with the creation of a Heredoc and you wouldn't do anything with it. But nonetheless, if you write this out and run it and you get this error, see if adding a single return fixes the error. And I know that's confusing. But now at this point, I can echo email, run it, everything looks good. We have it nicely formatted. And I'm sure you can see that when it comes time to edit your email message, doing so in this way is going to be far more convenient. And of course, you can take advantage of indentation if you want to use it like this. That's still going to work just fine. And that's what's great about Heredocs. Notice that I'm not having to worry about escaping double quotes or opening up PHP. This is easily the best solution when you have these types of tasks. The final thing I'll show you is one way that we could clean this up even more. So if you're in a situation where all you have is this post array and you need to build up the email message, there is a helpful PHP function. It's used quite a bit in MVC frameworks called extract. Now, what extract will do is it will take an associative array and turn all of these keys into variable names. So it will go through and create a variable called author and title and body and publish date. And then, of course, it'll set the values equal to their respective values within the array. So watch what happens when I extract that post array. And now I can echo author, and for now I'm going to comment out the email message. So now if I run this, yep, we're echoing out author. So we have access to this variable specifically because we ran extract. If I comment that out, nope, that's not going to work anymore. So when we ran extract, we now have 4 variables that we can use. Echo the body variable, and if we run it, yep, here's the body. So many times this can be very helpful, where you have an array that contains your data, but you still want to access it in a clean way. So you run extract, you create these variables for what's known as a view in MVC frameworks, or in situations like this, it can be a great help as well. Now we can go ahead and replace these with things that are much cleaner. So now I can say by author, and then we can add the body here. And I'm going to go ahead and put that back on its own line. Now, if I uncomment this and run it again, view the source, we're getting the exact same thing, but now this is a far cleaner way. And you can imagine if you add additional information, such as category, all you have to do is update the array. So we'll do category, personal. Now, because I ran extract, category is a variable I can use, and I can say by author within the category. Run it. By Jeffrey Way within the personal category. And honestly, that's the essentials of Heredocs. I think you're going to find that it's a huge help. The only word of caution I want to give you is that the end of text, whatever you assign this, can be EOD, it can be text, something like this. That's still going to work if I run it. But my word of caution is this closing identifier has to go on its own line and there can't be any spaces. So for example, watch if I just add a single space like that. Well, now we're going to get a parse error. And luckily, I'm in Sublime Text. I actually get some feedback to know, wait a minute, there's something wrong here. If I remove that space, now we get syntax highlighting to let me know, okay, that actually is serving a purpose because these two are the same color. And the same is true. I can't put that at the top like that. Nope, that's not going to work. It needs to be on its own line. And lastly, it can't end the file, as we've learned. There we go, and now we're back to working again. All right, so that is Heredocs in a nutshell. If you have any questions, just visit tutsplus.com/forums. My name is Jeffrey Way, and in the next lesson, we're going to start discussing HTTP verbs.